You are listening to the Intuitive Healing Connection. Hi, my name is Gina Stroll, and I am your host. I am best known as the down-to-earth intuitive healer that doesn't sugarcoat the truth. I walk my clients through the healing process and help them heal from their past so that they can find peace and joy again. If you are interested in healing your past, tapping into your spiritual side to receive your own answers, finding your own clarity, and discovering your own wisdom, then you are in the right place. I am here to lead the way and help you discover your intuitive connection. Hello, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm over the moon excited to offer you insight on how to really heal your past and to live your best life. And today's beautiful topic is all about just that. So I want to talk about kind of the 5 stages of healing our traumas and how you can really start to learn to work through your traumas at home. So I'm going to talk about the 5 stages, and then at the end, I'm going to give you some ideas on things that you can do if you want to start really tapping into yourself and learning to do some of your own healing work. So let's dive right in. I'm excited to get going. So when we talk about healing our traumas, you know, these are the things that have happened to us in the past that are really holding us back from knowing who we are, knowing that we're worthy, knowing that we are amazing, knowing that we are deserving of all good things in this life, of abundance, of love, of relationships, of all the amazing things that this world has to offer. But when we go through difficult situations in our past, when we create these belief systems thinking that we're not good enough or we're not worthy, that we'll never have love, we'll never have good relationships, whatever it is that you've told yourself, you know, a lot of people, money, you know, they don't believe they deserve money. They're not good enough for money. They can't have money. We just deserve to be poor. That's all we get. You know, even those types of things can come from our traumas in our past. I know even in my business, when I get to a point where I'm kind of stuck, I start doing more deeper healing work. I really start diving in because I know that there's something there holding me back from where I want to be. And that's what these traumas really do. They hold us back from where we want to be and where we can be. You know, a lot of times we don't even know what they are. You don't need to know what they are in order to figure it all out. This is where it's helpful to go and work with someone. I'm just going to say that right off the top of this is where it is really, really helpful to work with someone because they can help you, you know, especially a good intuitive. I love it when my clients come to me. Most of them, I'll ask them, sometimes they have things that they really want to work on, but they're like, no, you just go wherever you're led. And I love that because it's like we can really dive in then and start getting to the nitty gritty. Our mind wants to protect us. Our mind wants to keep us safe. Our mind wants to keep us small, this beautiful ego mind that we all have here in the human world. And it's lovely when we can get out of our own way and just let the healing happen. So I want you to keep that in mind today as you do this. It is so helpful to work with someone who can really help you see what's really going on and get a bigger picture of what's really going on. And because not all the time can we be that honest with ourselves. Not all the time do we know even what that is for ourselves if you're not open to all of those. But the thing that we're going to talk about today is, you know, how to get to that stage, because that's important too, because we have to be to that stage where we're ready to work with someone. When are you ready to work with someone? And then what are some things that you can do either to supplement it or to, you know, do your own healing work on the side. So let's talk about, you know, these stages, the stages of healing. So I see this all the time with my clients. I've seen it with myself. And it's funny, every time I need to heal something different, because I believe this is kind of a lifelong journey, I kind of go back through these stages. So it was kind of fun this morning to, as I was getting ready to do this podcast, kind of go back and go, where have I been over the years? What are the stages? Is there a pattern? Oh yeah, there's a pattern. There's a total pattern. So it's really cool. So The first stage of healing your traumas is realizing that it is time for change. You kind of have to come to that point of, I don't know what I need to do, but something has got to change. I think we've all kind of all been there for different reasons in our life, but it's really deciding that I need to make some changes. I don't want to go around being angry, being mad. I remember when my first promotional video for my business now. I remember saying that I had a lady, she was interviewing me, and she asked me, "Why did you start doing intuitive healing?" And I said, "Because I didn't want to go to my grave a grumpy ass old lady." And I meant it. And I still mean it today. I was that grumpy ass old lady because of things that have happened to me in my life and because of where I'd been and the belief systems that I had gathered. And I truly felt that I wasn't worthy of love. I wasn't worthy of anything. And I walked around in this world acting like, with my head tucked, acting, don't talk to me, I don't deserve anything. That's kind of, I didn't realize it at the time, but that's where I was at. And how sad is it to be in that state? So we have to realize that it's time for a change. And I did realize that, because my realization was, I'm not going to the grave a grumpy ass old lady. And if we can get to that point, whatever it is for you, realizing that is huge. That is such a big step. And realizing you may not understand what's going on or why you feel the way that you feel. You don't need to understand all of that. This very beginning part is like the baby stages. It's like the wake up stage of, oh my God, I got to do something different. I really have to do something different and change my life. So sometimes a major event can trigger this. Sometimes life can just trigger this. There's a lot of different reasons that this may be triggered for you. Sometimes, you may have a big blow up with your spouse and they say some things and you're like, oh my gosh, they're right. Or, a friend or what, they're right. I gotta figure some things out. What's going on with me? What is really going on that is causing me to feel this way? And a lot of times we don't even realize that our patterns are unhealthy until some things happen to us in our life. And then it's like ding, ding, ding. Oh my gosh, there's some things that are going on here that we need to work on. So the next step is kind of a bigger one. I kind of clumped a few things in there. But it's funny, after we decide that we need help, we usually get really scared. And that fear comes in. Who will we become if we're not blank, fill in the blank? If I'm not this grumpy ass old lady, who will I become? Will people still like me? Am I going to have any friends? We start going down this whole fear. Oh my gosh, our ego mind gets in the way and it puts up this resistance wall. Because here's the truth. Our ego mind wants us to stay exactly the way that we are. It thinks that it has built this protection around us, and it's a good thing. It isn't a good thing. Anytime we shut ourselves off from the world, anytime we disconnect energetically, emotionally, physically from the world because of where we've been, because we're afraid to be hurt, this is not a good thing. This is never a good thing. It can be our form of protection for a while, and it may have got you through some hard years, but there comes a time when we either got to break those walls down, relationships are crumbling, things have got to change, or, you are going to be that grumpy ass old lady. It's just, that's kind of the choice. And so, but this stage right here is where a lot of people stop, because a lot of people let that fear come in and they don't know how to work through it. And they just get scared. And instead of trusting that maybe there's something bigger out there, because you're not to that point where you're trusting the universe yet. We're not there. It's not happening. And until you get to that place of trust, something has to happen in here so that this fear can be moved a little bit. Transmuted is a word that I love. I spend a lot of time in my membership. I actually have a morning meditation that I love. You can actually buy it on my website. It's the morning kick in the ass. And it really talks a lot about This is meant to do while you're moving, while you're walking, while you're out with movement, because the whole point of it is to get you realizing that you need to let go of the fear, stepping out of fear, moving into life. I can have a kick-ass day. I can go. This is really about motivation. And something has to happen in here with this fear that can get you at least to that next step. Sometimes another event happens. Sometimes something else can come into play that you're just like, nope, I got to do it. I don't care what happens. This is where we use money and our circumstances and all of the excuses in the world come in on why you can't do what you know is going to help you in the end. It's got to be better than what you're doing, for God's sakes. But this is where we really get stopped in our path. And something has to happen to get you to the point where you realize that you deserve peace. Sometimes it can be, I've had people reach out to me and I will go do a live, or they hear one of my podcasts, or they hear something and they're like, oh my gosh, you gave me the courage to step forward. You gave me the strength to step forward. Sometimes it can be something like that. We can find people that we need. We can find people that can push us to that next level and really help us learn to step out of that fear and to really trust that maybe there's something better out there for you. If you're listening to me today and you're like, oh my God, this is me, this is this fear, know that I sat here today because I had to step out of that fear too. I've had to do it several times, not just once. This isn't a one-time thing. It's like, oh my gosh, that fear comes in, that ego mind comes in. I teach in my VIP class a lot about mastering the mind. This is what I'm talking about. We have to learn to understand that this is not our truth. That fear is not your truth. That fear is what you have learned to bring in that protected you, or you thought protected you, gave you this sense of security for a lot of years. It is not your truth. It will never be your truth, but we can choose to let it be the truth and let it be the loudest voice, or we can choose to reach out and do something bigger and something greater, something that will change our lives in such a positive way. This is such a big step right here. This is such a big part in healing. And sometimes it can be the one that we spend the most time on because we just don't know how to get out of it. And some of us, it takes a little longer than others. It takes, a little bit more. It takes more than, you're not trusting. You're not going to be great at this point in the game if we had, that trust in the universe, or that trust in a God, or whatever it is that you believe in, to know that, okay, I'm going to trust that there's something better for me. If you're in this stage and you're hearing my words today, trust me, there is something better for you. Hear that, know that, put that somewhere deep, deep, deep in your heart space, and trust that wherever you're guided next, wherever you go, is for your highest good, because I promise you that it is. So really, this is probably one of the most critical stages. I will just say that. So the next one, after we get through that, then we can really step into starting to trust, starting to feel our emotions, starting to, maybe you're working with someone at this point. This is where it's time to get a healer. This is where it's time to get a coach. Even in that fear stage, that could be the time where you really reach out and seek someone, and that would help you get through that. They could help you work through that. I love this stage because I'm like, absolutely. This is where I show people that they matter. This is where this has become such an important part in my business, because one thing that I have always done is wanted people to know that they matter, and that I see them, and that I validate them for who they are right where they're at. And if that means they're in this fear space, that's where we're at, and that's where we start. And so that can be so helpful in this critical area of really finding someone to work with, finding someone that you trust, finding someone who can get you to where you want to go, and really trusting in that process. So as you work with someone, this should be the stage that you're learning to work with your thoughts and your emotions. You're really learning to master that mind. This is kind of a hands-on time, is very helpful at this stage. Really learning that your emotions are not bad. There's nothing wrong with being livid, mad. The problem is when we don't know how to work with it. Everybody, we think of anger and everybody thinks of, mass shootings and all these things. Can that happen? Absolutely. There's some mental components there and some things going on. but to be upset with the ways that someone treated you, or be angry because you allowed yourself to be in that situation for so long, or, you know, the emotions are a million here, a lot of different things. None of them are wrong. That's just it. It's like none of those emotions are bad. It's what you choose to do with it when you internalize it. These are what is making you sick. This is what is starting this disease in your body that gets you to the point years later. And I know I've had struggled with thyroid conditions most of my adult life. Like, I've been working with this for so long. I spent so much time in trauma mode in my childhood that I didn't even realize it. That as I got older and got into my adult years, I have really struggled with this. I have struggled with these emotions. I've struggled learning to deal with them. But I know that once you do, once you can let those go, once you can be accepting of yourself. I just had one of my clients message me yesterday, and she's like, "Why am I so angry?" And I love talking people off the ledge. So I'll just say that right, hands down. And so I start questioning, I start probing. I don't know, what are you really mad about? What are you so pissed off about? And at first it was like, well, it's about this and it's about that. And I said, no, that's not what it's about. What are you really mad about? And so we just sat and we texted and we chatted back and forth. And finally she said, oh my God, I know what it is. And she texted it out. And I said, you're absolutely right. It had nothing to do with what she thought. And the reason that she texted me is because she's like, I'm so emotional today. Did we do something really deep in healing, or what's going on here? That was the start of our conversation. And we ended up with, oh my God, I got some journaling work to do. And she did. She spent her day yesterday totally journaling things out, talking about it to herself. Because I told her just the day before, I said, you know what, I'm going through my own healing stuff. Here's what I did. Now, I did it differently than she did, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you. For her, she loves the journaling aspect. I talk to people all the time. I'm sure if you've been listening to me for a while, journal, journal, journal. To me, you can call it automatic writing, you can call it whatever I want. When I do it in the healing process, and we'll talk about this more in the end, it's really just about getting your thoughts out and really discovering what's really going on a subconscious level. That's what those are good for. But so your emotions are not bad. We need to learn to acknowledge them, feel them, thank them, and then just allow them to flow out of the body. And I do it in that order. It's like acknowledging, what the hell are you so mad about? You're right. I'm livid angry. I am so mad. I didn't even realize this is how I felt. And it's funny, when we start doing that, I've had big sobby emotions come out just by acknowledging that's where I'm at and giving myself permission instead of fighting them to feel them. So many times we have been taught, I was taught, just shove it down, shut it up, move on. You can't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. You ever been told you shouldn't feel that way? Now I'm like, don't tell me how to feel. I will feel how I want to feel. And I will feel my feelings, and I will acknowledge them, and I will do them in an honoring way, but I'm going to go through the process, and I need a minute. So yeah, if you've been told you're too emotional, you're too feely, that's not true. You want to heal, you got to learn to feel. Hands down, end of story. If you want to learn to heal, you have got to learn to feel your feelings. Most of us were not taught how to do that. If you were in a home that taught you to acknowledge that you were sad, mad, angry, happy, joyful, whatever, kudos to you. Most of us were not. So really learning to acknowledge those feelings. So again, your emotions are not bad. Acknowledge them, feel them, thank them, and then allow them to flow out of your body. Now, when I talk about allowing them to flow out of your body, I actually feel them. I'm usually doing this kind of in a meditative state. You can use journaling as well when you're doing this, but you can journal about them. I feel them. Where are they in my body? If you can see things here, what do they see? What does it see? What does it look like? What does it look like to you? What does it feel like to you? Where is it located? And then if you're very open to that, you can actually feel that energy drain out of your body once you acknowledge it. It's a really cool process. So, all right. And the next one, forgiveness for self and others, if possible. Most of the time that I spend in healing sessions, this is one of the harder steps. Now, before we talk about this whole forgiveness process, I want to talk about the forgiveness of others, because you absolutely do not need to forgive others to heal. I'll just say that right up. The thing that I feel that you do need to do is release the emotions behind it. Once you do that, it kind of seems to maybe take care of itself over time. And the reason that I say you don't need to forgive others, because that isn't necessarily part of the process. To me, this healing process is not about other people at all. It's about you finding your peace. That's the end goal. That is the end game here, is you being able to find your peace with your past. And as you do that, usually this forgiveness piece just happens. Now, I have a lot of people who get upset with this part. And right now I'm talking about forgiving others. I'm going to talk about forgiveness of self here in just a second. But you absolutely do not have to forgive them in any way, shape, or form. You do not have to accept them back into your life. You do not, because it has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. What you choose to do with it, how you choose to deal with it, is a total personal thing, in my opinion. And it has nothing to do with them. I have some people who absolutely have to go talk to the other person. They have to have a conversation. They have to, if that's possible and that's helpful for you and you can do that, you do whatever you feel you need to do. We don't have to do that. A lot of times, in fact, most of the time, for me, healing is about what were my beliefs? What did I feel about that situation? What did I need differently? Not what should they have given me, or why now they need to give it to me. Has nothing to do with any of them. What do I need to feel whole here? And this is where we connect with that inner child, that inner part in ourselves. What does she need? Um, I just worked on this last week, and I went in and was doing some inner child healing with a healer that I am working with. And I saw my little girl, terrified, run up and jump in my arms. She needed some love. The little girl needed someone to tell her it is going to be okay. And I am here for you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to love you, and I am not leaving you. And a lot of times that's what we needed. That's the part that we needed. And when we can start to give ourselves that energetically, start bringing that into our lives, start really working with that in our lives, that's when we start to heal. Instead of shoving it down, telling yourself you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't do that, blah, 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 blah. We've already talked about all those. Really giving ourselves that's what that healing part is about. And so really, if you think about it on those terms, you don't need the other person to heal. Hands down. We can do cord work. I love doing cord work with people here. We can change those cords, we can move those cords, we can release those cords, we can heal those cords, whatever you want to do. I do a lot of cord healing in my healing practice, but we don't need that other person necessarily to heal. It would be helpful sometimes, but you don't have to. The other part of this I want to talk about is really forgiveness for yourself. And a lot of people get hung up on this one too, because they're like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. You're right, you didn't. Absolutely, you didn't. And that's kind of the part that we work with. It's like really letting yourself off the hook. Forgiving yourself for being so upset at yourself all these years. If you've been mad at yourself because you allowed this relationship to go on, or whatever it is that you've been upset at yourself about, really letting yourself off the hook. That's all about forgiveness. That's forgiveness of self. And understanding that you did the best you knew how at the time. And that was all anybody could ask. And when we do that and bring in that aspect of forgiveness for ourselves, mountains will move in your energy field. You literally have no idea how much of this type of energy you've been holding on to, really holding yourself hostage, holding yourself to the fire, reminding yourself every day of all the terrible things that you have done. Honestly, you haven't done anything terrible. Not one thing. Because I just don't see it that way. You did the very best that you knew how. And even when we start bringing in parents and doing other things, remembering that they did the very best they knew how. Sometimes after we work through those emotions, we can go to that place of understanding, you know what, you're right. They did the best place, they did the best they knew how. It doesn't mean it was what I needed. It means they did the very best they knew. And that's it. And so did I. And with that, then we can let go of a lot of these emotions. That doesn't forgive them, whatever they did. It doesn't let them off the hook. It doesn't, it's just like, you know what, they did what they had to do. Now I'm going to do what I need to do to heal. And that's kind of the attitude that I like to go into this with. It's like, and really understanding that because of the actions of others, that did not dictate your worth. Because of the other things that other people did, it does not mean that you're unworthy, unloved, uncared for, that you don't matter. Those are the type of things that we need to work on and release. And then really bringing in this forgiveness part and just allowing that, those emotions. When you've done your healing work, when you can talk about events and situations and you don't get as emotional as you did before, or maybe you don't get emotional anymore, that's when you know that you've done some good work. You've released stuff. Because we're not letting go. This is still part, of your past. It just hasn't created, we just don't want it to create who you think you are. That's the whole part of releasing these traumas, is really just allowing that emotional trauma to be released and allowing you to step into the final step of finding your peace. Because to me, this is what healing is all about. It doesn't mean that our past is changed or erased. It just means that you've made peace with that situation and you're willing to let it go and not hold it over your head or hold the emotions over others' heads, hold in that anger, those grudges. The other people may not have changed at all, and that's fine. But stepping into your peace, to me, is what true healing is all about. Finding your peace with your past so that it's not holding you hostage anymore. I guarantee there's parts of you that are holding yourself hostage over decisions and choices that other people made. And it's so unfair to us. So unfair to you. So unfair to have to live under that thumb holding us down, really not giving ourselves the space to heal. And this, to me, is what true healing is all about. This is where we get to that place where we realize, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm going to surrender into life. I'm going to understand these things happened for a reason. And I get to do my healing work now. I'm the person that I am today because of what I've been through. I understand what I understand today because of the things that I have been through. And I would never take any of it back. And I can say that now, sitting here. There have been times when I'm like, what in the hell did I sign up for? And it's okay. Going through, learning to feel your emotions, learning to be in that, learning to forgive yourself, learning to give yourself grace, learning to be kinder to yourself. These are all part of the healing process. Doesn't mean it's easy, especially when you've had a lifetime of programming telling you to shut up, buckle down, quit being a baby, put your big girl panties on, it's time to let go of all of those. I believe in that so much. And I believe really stepping into grace and strength and courage and love for you, love for your soul, love for yourself, and love for that beautiful little inner child who's done everything that she can possibly do to be where she is today. No matter where you're at along any of this, I want you to know that all of it is perfect for you. It is not a race to the end. It is not who can get there the fastest. Everybody has to take their own journey. Everybody has to take their own train, so to speak, or boat, or whatever form of transportation. Everyone has to have their own, and you have to do it your way. That is so important in the healing process, is to do it your way. So let's talk about the ways to help yourself work through these. We've talked about a little bit of them, but I'll go into them again. So one of the ways you can use tapping. I don't know if you've ever seen, the tapping. You can use that to move out energy, use that to move things through. Journaling is another beautiful way I talked about that a little bit, writing down your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings. A lot of times when I start journaling, a lot of times I'm just getting I call it chit chat out of my brain. It takes a minute for your brain to process, and that I write it with my hand. You can type it out if you want. There's something to me about writing. Pen and paper to me is totally old school these days, but I still even write out all my podcast notes and stuff because there's something to me about connecting my hand to the paper, connecting my thoughts and writing it all out. So, at first in the journaling process, it can be the total chit chat in your head. I'm pissed off because today is blah, 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 whatever. And it's been a total shitstorm and whatever it's been. And then you can ask get down to the nitty gritty. This is where you get your answers. What am I really so angry about? It's not because the guy in the grocery store, I promise you, or that guy that cut you off, or that person who said this or did that. There's a trigger behind it. What's your trigger? What is your trigger? What are you so angry about? What are you so upset about? And then after you get through the chit chat, then you can get to the nitty gritty and ask yourself those questions. So the one that I use a lot is, and you might think I'm the crazy lady now, but this works hands down for me every single time. I use movement, and I also kind of talk out loud to myself. And some of you are like, whoa. Okay, I'm not yelling it. I'm not, unless you want, you can totally go out in your backyard and yell it. But I use riding my bike as a way to move energy. And so I actually just did this the other night, and I've been working through some deeper emotions and some deeper things on a deeper level for me. And I needed to go work out a whole bunch of energy. And so I took off on my bike and I start talking to myself, just like I would kind of do in the journaling. At first I kind of talked to myself just in my head, and it's like, what is going on? What are you so angry about? What are you holding on to that we need to work through today and let go of? And I'm acknowledging all the feelings in my body. I acknowledge where, if something changes, usually when you say, where is this in my body, you'll feel something, in your neck, in your back, in your stomach, wherever it is for you. I acknowledge that. Great. Okay, we've been holding on to all this anger here. What is this anger for me? And the minute it'll usually drop in there for a lot of people, if you're open to that kind of thing, the minute that it drops in there and I know what it is, I start talking. And I talk to the people who were involved. I talk to those around me. Now, I'm not yelling it, but I am saying the words out loud. I'm by myself where I'm riding my bike, so no worries here. But for me, it has been very helpful in really acknowledging my true feelings, acknowledging where I'm at with it, acknowledging why I feel the way that I feel, even allowing myself to say the things to those people who I may never say or have the opportunity to say to their face, the things that I needed to for them to understand. And by doing that, this movement, this talking, this works out so much. So much. The other night I was working on some anger that I had stored in there. It was huge. Now I'm riding my bike, crying, sobbing. I'm crying as loud as you can. That was loud, but it was good. It was actually very much a release of energy. So, using that as a way that works for me. So you can also do this in meditation. You can focus on the motions where they are in your body and releasing them. So in meditation, you can go inside your body where you're feeling some discomfort. What's going on in there? This is where journaling is helpful. Or if you can set in meditation and do this, what is the emotions in there? What am I feeling? What does this really have to do with? Is there a situation or something connected to that I can work through and let go of? And then releasing those also in meditation can be helpful. And then, of course, I said it right at the beginning, go get some help. I work with a healer. Those of us who are healers know that we need a healer too. Get somebody that you can trust. I absolutely love doing this work with all of you, because it is so helpful when someone can have a little more insight can have a little bigger window into your world. There's nothing to be afraid of by them being able to see the things. I don't get to see everything. I get to see your emotions, your feelings. I just ask your soul, what do we need to heal? And that's where we go. This isn't an open book to your life. Um, I have had some situations early on that I was like, whoa, that was unexpected. I didn't know that's where we were going. But for the most part, a healer cannot see into, it's not a big wide open picture into your life. We can only see what you need to heal at the time. And that's what we work through. That's the level that we work on. It really is an amazing process if you will trust in it and allow someone to help you go through the steps of healing. I know for myself, the work that I do with the healer, I do 10 times more work than the work that I do with myself. And I've learned to be a lot more open with myself over the years. So I probably am exaggerating a little bit on that. Now I would say, I can do some of it myself, and I do a lot of it with a healer. I just like that help. I like having that understanding and having that acknowledgement and having that support system there. It's nice to have that support system on the side. So, these are kind of the steps of healing. I hope this has been helpful for you today. Do your healing work. Every time you heal, you're helping to heal your family, you're helping to heal the world. And I'm grateful that you're all doing this, that you're all willing to be here, that you are willing to do your healing work. So pat yourself on the back. Congratulations. You're changing your life one step at a time. And that is no small thing. That is huge. So I hope this has been helpful. I can't wait to see you on the next podcast. If there's something in here that you feel someone could benefit from, please share. Get the word out. Share this podcast and help us heal more people. So much love to you all. I hope you have a fabulous day, and we'll talk to you all again very soon. Bye-bye for now. I sincerely hope you enjoyed today's episode. I love connecting with my people. So if you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me at ginastroll@ginastroll.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube as Gina Stroll Intuitive Healing. And of course, if you have any interest in anything that we talked about today, all of my stuff is available on my website at ginastroll.com. And again, thank you for joining me, and I can't wait for us to connect up again. Have a great day.